Imagine this. You're lying awake at 3 a.m., your mind racing like a trapped animal. A single question loops endlessly. Should I quit my job? You dissect every angle. What if I regret it? What if I fail? What if I'm throwing away security for a fantasy? Hours dissolve. The room darkens. Your heartbeat syncs with the clock's tick, but you're paralyzed, drowning in a storm of what-ifs. Here's the brutal paradox no one admits. The smarter you are, the more helpless you feel. You solve equations, master skills, and outthink problems effortlessly. Yet when life demands a leap of faith, a career change, a confession of love, a risky dream, your genius betrays you. Your mind, once a superpower, becomes a prison. Nietzsche, the philosopher who warned of reason's dark side, called this the tyranny of the intellect, a cage built not by ignorance, but by overthinking. Ask yourself, why can you navigate a spreadsheet flawlessly, but freeze when choosing a Netflix show? Why does the same brain that cracks code crumble at living? What if your intelligence isn't a gift, but a trap? Society tells you knowledge is power. But Nietzsche saw deeper. Wisdom sets limits even to knowledge. In other words, thinking too much can starve your soul. You dissect life until it's lifeless, trade spontaneity for spreadsheets, and mistake caution for control. But here's the truth. Overthinking isn't wisdom. It's fear in a lab coat. Think of the last time you acted without overanalyzing. Childhood, maybe? Jumping into a pool, scribbling art, laughing without wondering, do I look stupid? When did you stop trusting your instincts and start trusting Google searches? Nietzsche wrote, "The snake which cannot cast its skin must die." But you've wrapped yourself in layers of logic, suffocating under the weight of your own mind. The tragedy? You're not protecting yourself from failure. You're protecting yourself from freedom. But what if there's a way out? A way to think less and live more? Tone shifts, urgent yet hopeful. In the next section, we'll dissect the invisible chains binding you, why society rewards overthinking, how your brain became your jailer, and why Nietzsche believed the will to power isn't about control, but surrender. The question isn't, how do I stop overthinking? It's, what parts of me have I buried to keep playing it safe? You've been taught that overthinking is a flaw, a glitch in your otherwise brilliant mind. But what if it's not a bug? What if it's a feature of modern life? A trap designed to keep you small, obedient, and endlessly second-guessing. Let's start with society's dirty secret. We've turned uncertainty into a crime. From childhood, you're rewarded for having the right answer, punished for risks, and conditioned to believe life is a multiple-choice test. Schools drill you to memorize, not wonder. Offices promote meetings about meetings. Social media turns every choice, what to eat, wear, or believe, into a public performance. The message is clear: don't act, optimize. But here's what they don't tell you. Your brain wasn't built for this. Psychologists call it hypervigilance, a survival mechanism that once kept our ancestors alive. Imagine a caveman spotting movement in the bushes. Is it a predator or the wind? Hesitate and you're eaten. Act rashly and you starve. But today, there are no predators in your inbox, no life or death stakes in your grocery list. Yet your primal brain still screams, danger, over spilled coffee or awkward silences. Nietzsche saw this crisis coming. He warned of slave morality, a society that praises caution over courage, obedience over originality. You're taught to fear mistakes, worship experts, and outsource your instincts to apps, gurus, and algorithms. The result? A world where smart people spend hours researching the perfect water bottle, while their dreams gather dust. But why does it feel so addictive? Enter Carl Jung, the psychologist who uncovered our shadow selves. He believed overthinking is a defense mechanism, a way to avoid confronting the messy, raw parts of life we can't control. Love, death, failure. It's easier to obsess over spreadsheets than ask, "Am I living a lie?" And then there's Jean-Paul Sartre, who exposed the prison of bad faith, the lies we tell ourselves to avoid freedom. I'll pursue my passion once I save enough. I'll speak up when I'm braver. Overthinking becomes a comfort zone, a way to pretend you're moving forward while staying perfectly still. But the cruelest twist? The system profits from your paralysis. Think about it. The self-help industry sells you courses to fix your overthinking, while feeding you more to overthink about. Social media algorithms flood you with options, reviews, and FOMO, keeping you scrolling, comparing, doubting. Corporations thrive on employees who overprepare but never demand raises, promotions, or change. You've been gaslit into believing your mind is the problem, when it's the world that's rigged. Nietzsche wrote, "Madness is rare in individuals, but in groups, parties, nations, it is the rule." Look around. We're a culture of clever zombies, smart enough to see the traps but too rational to escape them. Ask yourself, how many decisions have you outsourced to strangers' Amazon reviews? When did "I don't know" become a sin instead of a starting point? What would happen if you trusted your gut as much as Google? Here's the truth they're afraid you'll discover. Overthinking isn't a personal failure. It's a rebellion waiting to happen. But rebellion requires a villain. In the next section, we'll expose the silent casualties of this war, the relationships, joy, and purpose you've already lost to the void of analysis, and why your mind won't let you grieve them. What if the cost of playing it safe is everything? You tell yourself overthinking is harmless, a quirk of being detail-oriented. But beneath the surface, it's devouring your life. Let's name the ghosts haunting you. First, the death of presence. Imagine sitting with someone you love. Instead of laughing or listening, your mind replays yesterday's argument or worries about tomorrow's meeting. You're here, but you're not here. Overthinking steals moments you'll never get back. First steps, sunsets, quiet mornings, because you're too busy mentally time traveling. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard called this the despair of possibility, the torture of living everywhere but the present. Second, the erosion of identity. Every time you overthink, you outsource a piece of yourself. You poll friends about what to post, let algorithms decide what to watch, and let experts dictate how to live. Slowly, your tastes, desires, and instincts atrophy. You become a mirror reflecting others' expectations, a smart puppet with no strings of your own. Nietzsche warned, "No one is more inferior than the man who insists on being equal." Third, the illusion of progress. You confuse thinking with doing. You research diets instead of eating better. You plan workouts instead of moving. You draft career strategies instead of applying for jobs. Psychologists call this the planning fallacy, mistaking preparation for action. But life isn't a chess game. You can't outmaneuver uncertainty. As writer Paulo Coelho put it, you drown not by falling into a river, but by staying submerged in it. You tell yourself overthinking is harmless, a quirk of being detail-oriented. But beneath the surface, it's devouring your life. Let's name the ghosts haunting you. First, the death of presence. Imagine sitting with someone you love. Instead of laughing or listening, your mind replays yesterday's argument or worries about tomorrow's meeting. You're here, but you're not here. Overthinking steals moments you'll never get back. First steps, sunsets, quiet mornings, because you're too busy mentally time traveling. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard called this the despair of possibility, the torture of living everywhere but the present. Second, the erosion of identity. Every time you overthink, you outsource a piece of yourself. You poll friends about what to post, let algorithms decide what to watch, and let experts dictate how to live. Slowly, your tastes, desires, and instincts atrophy. You become a mirror reflecting others' expectations, a smart puppet with no strings of your own. Nietzsche warned, "No one is more inferior than the man who insists on being equal." Third, the illusion of progress. You confuse thinking with doing. You research diets instead of eating better. You plan workouts instead of moving. You draft career strategies instead of applying for jobs. Psychologists call this the planning fallacy, mistaking preparation for action. But life isn't a chess game. You can't outmaneuver uncertainty. As writer Paulo Coelho put it, you drown not by falling into a river, but by staying submerged in it. Fourth, the betrayal of the body. Your brain wasn't built to run 24/7. Chronic overthinking floods your system with cortisol, the stress hormone. Your shoulders tighten, your gut churns, sleep fractures. Neurologists found that overthinkers have heightened activity in the default mode network, the brain region linked to self-criticism and regret. In other words, your mind is quite literally attacking itself. Fifth, the suffocation of joy. Think of the last time you felt pure, unscripted delight. Maybe dancing alone to a dumb song, or impulsively buying a ticket to nowhere. Overthinkers can't tolerate these moments. Your brain slaps a label on them. Waste of time. Irresponsible. You'll regret this. Joy becomes guilty until proven innocent. But the darkest consequence? You've become a stranger to your own life. You analyze memories instead of making them. You rehearse conversations instead of having them. You curate experiences instead of living them. Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom." But overthinkers colonize that space with noise, leaving no room for choice or freedom. And society? It's paying the price. Overthinkers don't start revolutions. They don't write raw poetry or build messy startups. They don't risk love that might hurt. A world run by overthinkers is a world of endless meetings, half-written novels, and polite marriages of convenience. Nietzsche saw this as cultural decay, a society that values knowing over becoming. Ask yourself, what songs have you not sung because you feared off-key notes? What truths have you not spoken because you couldn't phrase them perfectly? What parts of your soul have you abandoned to stay rational? This isn't just about wasted time, it's about a slow spiritual suffocation. The overthinker's curse isn't stress, it's the quiet grief of watching your life pass by, like a ship you never boarded. But here's the twist Nietzsche knew. Your agony is the key. The very fact that you ache means part of you is still alive, a wild, untamed self that refuses to be buried by thoughts. In the next section, we'll awaken that self. You'll learn how to break the trance, silence the mental noise, and reclaim what overthinking stole. But first, you must answer one question. How much more of your life are you willing to lose to the void of maybe? The escape begins where you least expect it, not in thinking harder, but in thinking less. This isn't about silencing your mind. It's about stripping off the armor of overanalysis and stepping, naked and trembling, into the raw current of life. Nietzsche called this amor fati, the love of fate. Not passive acceptance, but a wild embrace of the chaos you've spent years trying to control. Start here. Surrender to uncertainty. You've been taught to treat doubt like a fire to extinguish. But what if it's the oxygen for a different kind of flame? The artist doesn't know if her painting will sell. The lover doesn't know if his heart will break. The rebel doesn't know if the world will listen. Yet they act anyway, not because they're fearless, but because they've made a pact with the unknown. Your first act of rebellion? Make one decision today without Googling a single opinion. Let it be small. Let it be messy. Let it terrify you. Then, redefine failure as fuel. For decades, you've seen mistakes as monsters under the bed. But here's the truth. Failure is the only mentor who never lies. Every wrong job teaches you what you truly want. Every awkward conversation sharpens your voice. Every rejection reveals where you've been hiding. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard wrote that anxiety is the dizziness of freedom, the vertigo you feel when standing at the edge of what could be. Lean into that dizziness. Let it remind you you're alive. Now, rewrite the rules of SMART. Society equates intelligence with caution. But what if true wisdom is the courage to act before you're ready? To send the text before you've polished it 7 times? To quit the job before you've secured the next one? To say, "I love you," without a contingency plan? History's greatest leaps, scientific breakthroughs, social movements, love stories, were made by people who chose guts over guarantees. They didn't overthink. They overlived. This is where you meet your shadow. Jung warned that ignoring our primal instincts creates a shadow self, the suppressed wild parts of us that burst out in destructive ways. Your shadow isn't your enemy, it's your compass. When overthinking paralyzes you, ask, what would my shadow do? Not the you that's been trained to please and perfect, the raw, unfiltered self that wants to run through rainstorms, howl at the moon, and risk it all for a life that feels alive. Feed that self. Finally, practice reckless trust in yourself. You've spent years outsourcing your instincts to apps, gurus, and data. But no algorithm can answer the questions that matter. Who am I? What do I crave? What makes my pulse quicken? Reclaim your intuition. It won't shout, it whispers. It lives in the gut clench when you're lying to yourself, the shiver of excitement when you're near truth, the quiet yes that surfaces when you stop arguing with your fears. Nietzsche's Übermensch isn't a superhero. It's someone who's traded the safety of the herd for the storm of self-ownership. You become the Übermensch not by conquering thoughts, but by letting them pass like weather, acknowledging the thunder but refusing to let it cancel the journey. Your rebellion won't be perfect. Some days you'll crawl back to old habits, clutching spreadsheets like security blankets. But progress isn't linear, it's a spiral. Each time you choose action over analysis, you widen the spiral. Each risk taken, each instinct followed, each moment lived instead of rehearsed. These are the bricks that build a new world. The revolution starts now, not with a plan, but with a breath. Close your eyes. Feel the weight of all the unlived lives inside you. Then ask, what's one thing I'd do today if I weren't so damn smart? Here's the raw truth. Overthinking isn't a flaw. It's a mirror. It reflects the parts of you silenced by logic, the wild, untamed self that knows how to live. Nietzsche warned not of the mind itself, but what it destroys in its hunger for control. You've built a fortress of reason to hide from life's terrifying freedom. Spreadsheets became wisdom. Caution became intelligence. Safety became a tomb. Camus wrote, "Become so free your existence is rebellion." Your rebellion? Stop treating life like a math problem. Nietzsche's eternal recurrence asks, what if you relived your life, every joy, mistake, sleepless night, infinitely? Would that terrify you? If so, ask, have I spent too long dissecting decisions, rehearsing conversations, waiting for someday? The gut punch truth. You're not afraid of failure. You're afraid of aliveness. You crave guarantees, but love risks heartbreak. Dreams demand uncertainty. Purpose is born in fog. As Rilke urged, live the questions now. Stop outthinking life. The mind is a chainsaw, useless for painting sunsets. Truth isn't found in analysis, but in the pulse of a risky yes, the sweat of a leap. Nietzsche's Übermensch isn't a genius. It's someone who stops arguing with existence. They act, not because they're certain, but because action kills despair. Frida Kahlo painted through pain. Van Gogh swirled stars in madness. A single parent works 3 jobs. They didn't overthink. They endured. They chose meaning over comfort. Fall in love with becoming, not being. Life is a campfire, flickering, not a frozen statue. Clinging to perfection drowns you in the river of life. Let go. When your mind races, ask, will this make me feel alive? If yes, leap. If unsure, leap harder. When fear whispers, what if you fail? Reply, what if I fly? Regret. Ask, what is this pain shaping me into? Final truth. You are not your thoughts. You're the sky. Thoughts are weather. The answer isn't in your mind. It's in your next breath, your next step, your next ungoogleable leap.